Mine's
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the O. Charles Show. Today we are back here in March to talk about two different things today. First of all, how to start journaling. And then, in keeping with the journaling theme, we are going to do a little segment on my 2016. So I do not have any social media accounts like Instagram or Facebook. I do not know anything about social media trends. However, I do listen to a lovely Christian homemaking podcast called Honey, I'm Homemaker, which is done by two Mennonite Christian cousins. And they did an episode back in February about their 2016. So apparently, after a little bit of research, I found out that it's mainly an Instagram trend where people do a photo dump of their 2016 photos. I was like 7 turning 8. I would have turned 8 in September, I think, of 2016. So that photo part doesn't really apply. I do, however, have all my journal entries from 2016, so I thought it would be fun to go into that. I know that this is kind of late to be part of the trend, but hey, it's an attempt. And guys, I get my trends from the Mennonite Homemaking podcast, so yeah. Anyway, I think it'll be fun. But first of all, we're going to talk about how to start journaling. So a lot of these episodes have been great things that might help you get your New Year's resolutions done, which was our first episode. And maybe this will help you get going. I've always liked journaling. I received my first official journal. Let me grab it here so I can read it. I got it on January 29th of 2016. The reason that date is significant is because in our family, we have spiritual birthdays. So the day that we made the decision to accept Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior, we remember that day, and then each year after that, it's like a spiritual birthday because you were born again into the family of Jesus and God's kingdom. So that was my spiritual birthday in 2016 that I got this journal from my Aunt Alice and Uncle Joe. And that journal I wrote in until 2024, so it lasted me many, many years. So therefore, there's a lot of variety in handwriting and in maturity levels and in life events in this journal. And it'll be fun to look back at my 2016 to see what was going on. But you don't have that if you don't write it down, I guess. So there is a journaling app on iPhones now that comes with it, but typing's just not the same as writing, okay? I've said things to that effect a couple times. Doing things on paper is always better than online when you can help it. And journaling provides a way to kind of save your thoughts and where you are and what you're doing, and just so that you can look back at it later and see your growth, but also so that other people can. It hit me because I've gone in and out of journaling. I think lots of people have done that. I've heard where they're like, oh, I went through a year where I really felt like it, and now I don't so much, and I'm trying to get back into it or whatever. But I do think you have to have motivation, and what motivated me again as I got older, obviously past 2016, a few years later, was if I don't write this stuff down, like my great-great-great-great-great-grandkids will have no idea who I am. I mean, realistically, some people do keep track of their family history and do have family stories passed down, but I could not tell you the names of my great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. But what if I had a journal about their thoughts and feelings when they were 7 years old or 16 years old or whatever age it is? Think of what a valuable legacy that is. So that's kind of my motivation, but also there are others that we'll get into. I'm just going to try and give you some practical steps for how you can start, and why you might want to start, and what you might want to start with. So here we go. First of all, to start journaling, like this is very literal, how to start journaling, you need paper and a pen or pencil. Or a crayon. I have used a crayon. It is hard. You have to write really big. You can use a marker. Also have to write really big, but it works. I have done it. I have evidence of it, and I think it might have been in 2016. Do not use an annoying light green pen. Okay, I have journal entries of me saying I couldn't stand this light green pen that I had in my room that I would use because it was the only thing I could find. You can't really read it. It's hard to write with. Basically, from a practical standpoint, get a utensil that you like to use. So some people love like the color coordinated highlighters. Some people are really into like scrapbooking in their journal or doing calligraphy in their journal. So for those, you would all want your own supplies that you're comfortable with because you're an artist creating art with your journal. You can also create art by writing with a pen or pencil. So I like to use those BIC, like black clear pens. You can get them at the dollar store. They're so smooth. I like to write in cursive, and they're really great for that because you can just kind of keep going smoothly. I also do use pencils, but I think pens help me because I write in cursive. You may want to write in cursive because that will be faster if you get practice at it. But I will tell you that in 2016, I was learning cursive, so I didn't start writing in cursive. I started writing in print. So basically, it's whatever you want, which I know that's not helpful. But it doesn't, I guess my point here is it does not have to be Instagram worthy. Like, get a dollar store pen, get a dollar store notebook. I mean, really, whatever you want. Some people love getting fancy. I have some nice journals that I've been given, so obviously I'm going to use them, and they're really fun because it's kind of like, wow, I'm making like my own like chronicles in this really nice journal, But you can do it on a legal pad. You can do it on a notebook. It's helpful to have bound paper so that you can, flip through and look back and stuff like that. But if you want to get a bunch of loose leaf paper and keep it in file folders, whatever floats your boat, it's your journal. It does not have to be color coordinated. It does not have to look nice. I mean, preferably people should be able to read it. But you know what? If it's chicken scratch, you can do it for yourself then, hey. Or people could just try and interpret your code years later. Maybe it'll turn into some sort of handwriting analysis class at a university in like 200 years. You never know. Basically, yeah, just get materials you like. You don't have to do scrapbooking, you don't have to draw, but some people find that is really important to them. So if that's important to you, get some stuff. But I wouldn't go out and break your budget to get journaling supplies when you probably have them in your house. Okay. Secondly, though, once you have your materials, why do you want to start a journal? Because you saw an aesthetic journal on Instagram? Because that's not going to be good motivation unless that's your thing. But journaling has to have a good motive. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. So like I said before, a really good motive is that it's a way for people to remember you and to see what were your thoughts. If you're a parent, maybe you're journaling about your kids, and that's a way that your kids can look back and see how you experienced their growth and saw their development, and because they're not going to remember the first time they said a word, but you are, and you're going to remember those feelings. You're going to remember the word they said, how they said it, when it was. So a journal can be a way to keep those and pass it down to your kids, who can pass it down to their kids, and maybe they'll do the same thing. And so it creates a legacy for a specific person. And for a family, maybe it's just leaving your personal legacy of what your experiences are. I really hope that someday a 16-year-old distant relative of mine will read my journal and go, oh, so I'm not alone in feeling that way in high school. Like, oh, okay, somebody understands me that lived 100 years ago. Like, that's pretty awesome. Also, maybe a journal has a specific purpose. You can have a gratitude journal, or you can just journal gratitude along with your regular stuff. But if you are looking for a very practical and specific approach, write 3 things down that you are thankful for and just see what happens when you do that every day. I think, too, that this kind of connects to spiritual growth as well, because you could write in your journal prayers addressed to God. And I find that that's helpful for me because when you're writing, it's harder to lose track of what word you're writing, I guess. When you're thinking your prayer in your head to God silently, it's easy for other thoughts to flood into my head. But when I'm writing it down, I find that 1, it's more intentional for me, and 2, I can go back and look at it. So I have a little prayer journal that I wrote in occasionally when I felt like I wanted to really focus on what I was praying for. And I asked God for siblings. And then I can go look back and find all these entries asking God for siblings. And then one day there's an entry that says, thank you so much, God, for the baby twins. Because my prayer was answered with a yes. And I'm very thankful for that. So cool things like that can happen when you document your life, which is really neat. Yeah, so it could be time with God. It could be capturing a kid's growth. It could be just telling your story or your ideas that you don't want to forget. Like, maybe you had an idea for a small business. Write it down in the journal. Maybe you'll be the next person on Shark Tank. I don't know. I'm just saying, it's pretty neat to capture something in your life in a tangible way like that. Then obviously, once you got your motivation, get going. Just write. Like I said, it is easier in cursive, but how do you start? I mean, I guess sometimes it's odd, like, wait, I'm just writing what I did today on paper. But somewhere down the line, that's going to be really cool to look back and read and see how you process that information and how it changed. So I would start with, like, what did you do that day? What did you eat? Who did you see? Who did you talk to? Maybe you ran into somebody at the office that you made a great company connection. Well, write down his or her name so you don't forget, It could be bullet points, like, I ate a ham and cheese sandwich, I ran 2 miles. It could be very flowery, like, this morning I stepped out of bed and felt my feet sink into the carpet as I threw open the window curtain, and the next moment a glorious ray of the morning sunrise hit my countenance, and I raised my eyes to the heavens. Okay, it could literally be that. It's up to you. I have played with when I was little, I read a lot of, like, classic books, so I used a lot of phrases that were used in Little Women in my journal as, like, an 8-year-old. So I was like, oh, I shall stop writing to you now because I have to go do this or that. Anyway, so you can really make it your own, and someday it'll be funny. Now, if that does not motivate you enough to start journaling, I will now go back and relive my 2016 with you, which is all from my journal, because I didn't have Instagram, I didn't have Facebook, I had paper and a really awesome glittery purple pen. So, this is from January 30th. I'm not going to read, like, the entire year, but I'll share some highlights. Yesterday was my spiritual birthday. I got lots of fun presents. I got to stay up till 10. When my 4-year-old brother was in bed, he went to bed early, we played Headbands Act Up. I liked staying up past my brother. Now I am 4 in Christ. I am 7 in real life, but Christ is in real life too. Today I'm happy because it's Saturday, no school, and because it's my grandmom's birthday. So that's the first half of my first entry. Oh, here I said, we had baked potatoes and mom's chili. I liked chili, but didn't eat it. I used to be a very picky eater. Let's see. Oh, I'm writing about how it's hard, how cursive is hard. I think I'm looking at the letter P is hard. Lowercase r is hard at first, but I still like cursive. And then I signed my name in cursive. Okay, I had 3 dumpings of M&Ms at Grandma and Granddad's house. Bruised my leg falling off of a bike. I had a dream. Okay, I wrote my dream in cursive about a giant alligator fighting with Elvis Presley. Let me explain here. Well, the real story behind that is that when I was 5 years old, I went to Graceland with my dad, and I actually had a crush on Elvis Presley for, like, years after that. So Elvis appears a lot in this journal. I have pictures of him. I have a picture of him drinking a milkshake. Oh, we went to St. Louis. There was a soft serve ice cream place called Tutti Frutti, and I wrote a lot about that. Oh my gosh, okay. This is something I wrote. My goal is to post something on Facebook every day. See section 120 to understand Facebook. I don't know where section 120 is, but I think what I meant is that when I'm writing, it's like posting in the book. So I actually was comparing this to social media, by the way. Don't worry, I must update you if I go to Tutti Frutti, because that's what I was really wanting to do there in St. Louis. Dad, as I believe, is taking a daily shower. Have you ever figured out why grown-ups shower in the daytime? I think so they look nice the rest of the day. Having written to you 2 pages already, I haven't much to say, based on things happening. Have you been in the Arch? Speaking of it, after I said meet you in St. Louis, I could not write a proper journaling, though I longed to. So I shan't think of saying such a careless thing to you again. As my story to you not ended, and not much left to say, I am wasting a page which could have held many words of a marvelous story. I hope I won't forget to write to you even one day of the whole month of June. We stay here only a month, and not even a month in which we must go home for a dance recital. As I go home for that, I shall tell you about this. And maybe as I come back here, I may tell you how the recital went. I don't even know what... Okay, that's HOW''ST. What is that a contraction of? I don't know. Oh, maybe how dust... Like how dust... Like how does, but in the Old English, but that doesn't make sense in the sentence. Anyway, this page holds many words, but is empty of a story. Well, I suppose it, being only morning, I shan't know what happens in the day. Okay, so you see why it's funny to write things in a journal, because you try to use Old English, but don't use any English correctly. Here's something fun to do in your old journals. You go back and you write notes in them. So I went back to an entry from June of 2016 and I wrote on May 26, 2018, 2 years later, wow, I don't wish to offend my inner youngsterness, but I sound so young, but at the same time a bit mature. Really? I'm impressed that I think that. Okay. Have you noticed that I'm always writing old-fashioned stories using words like shan't, housed, and tis? I don't even know if housed is a word. Oh my gosh, I literally just was wondering where that came from. It is quite a big habit of mine. I need to start writing more modern-day phrases. Come on, Maria. This is 2016. You live in 2016. Get with it. Well, I'm writing modern day now, aren't I? Oh, okay. Now we get into politics. So, I knew nothing about politics in 2016, but I thought I did because I knew who was running for president, and that was Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. So the next couple pages are very serious political works about my feelings of both of these candidates. So that is interesting. Here we go. Oh, now during the day we voted, I've renamed my journal America. I tried naming it so I could write Dear Blank. So I named it a lot of things. I named it Senorita. I named it Black Cat. I named it apparently America. Now I don't name it. Today I voted. Well, with Mom. I'm 8, not 18. Isn't it funny how grown-ups get I voted stickers? It seems childish. As if, like, I wasn't childish. 2016 was the year that I read the book Pollyanna. If you haven't read that, you should. Oh, okay. November 5th, 2015. Sorry, I wrote so sloppily. Mom won't let me be in a card club, and I tore the form, and all she said was, okay. Okay, when I was little, I really wanted this card club where you get these pop-up cards. I'm sure it was quite expensive because the cards were not cheap. And they had a form in the envelope. They were like, you could check these boxes and buy the card. So I really wanted these cards. And then here I am acting like I know everything about politics and then crying and tearing up forms to ask for expensive card clubs that nobody would ever use. Oh, for the record, 4 days later, I refuted my statement in little words in the margins. Oh, my experience at Blimpie Burger. Okay, I had the left side cavities filled. So as a celebration, Dad and I went to Blimpie Burger and then Cupcake Station. That's one of my favorite dessert places. Well, I filled you in on information. So, now what should we talk about now? Blimpie Burger is the most famous burger place in Ann Arbor, but there are super strict rules in ordering. You must know exactly what you want, nothing else. I was asking Dad questions, so the guy said, I guess you're asleep. I'll get back to you later. Oh dear. And that's it. My next entry is in 2017. My next big entry anyway. So there you have it. That's a little rundown of my 2016. There were some big feelings about politics, big feelings about card clubs, and lots of talking about what I ate and what I did in little details. So it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun to go back and look at it, and I bet in another 10 years I'll be reading my journal entries from now. So we'll keep the trend rolling. You keep the trend rolling. Go get a pen, write down something that happened today. Write down when you're angry. It's really satisfying to write in all caps. I did that a lot as a kid, and then you just come back and write, oh, well, no, you don't feel that way anymore. But that's okay. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what your experiences were with journaling if you had them, or if you want to start. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments. Any disagreements you have can also be listed in the comments, because then we get more comments, which means this episode gets ranked higher. I'd love to know what you were doing in 2016. Maybe you were a kid, maybe you were an adult. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to see you again soon. This is the Oh Charles Show. As always, I'm your host, Charlie Charles. Over and out.